We welcome into the show Jeff Duncan, NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. Huge changes for the Saints, the move to Darren Rizzi. Does it make sense that they went with him?
I don't think there's any doubt. I think he was the clear choice. It's a guy that has been a head coach before at the college level. He interviewed for the Saints head coaching job a few years ago when they gave the job to Dennis Allen. He's also interviewed for the Miami Dolphins head coaching position. He's very well liked in the building because of his role as the special teams coordinator. He has had his hands on a lot of the players in the building. He has relationships with a number of players. And I think overall, the other thing that stands out is the fact that he has this infectious enthusiasm. He has energy. He's kind of the anti-Dennis Allen in that way. His personality fits for an interim position where you need energy, enthusiasm to get everybody back on board. I think he was the perfect choice.
Yeah, he was the only guy in my mind that could have obviously taken this very tough position and this position the Saints are in and kind of help dig themselves out of this hole, which I think they will have that energy boost. They will have that interim boost. We'll see if that leads to more wins and losses. But he's the guy, he's well respected. When he was in Miami, they went through a couple staffs, and he was retained through a couple staffs, which is not something that normally happens. He's a guy that was front and center in the new kickoff rule. So just really a well-respected guy. But above all else, he's got the one thing they've been missing. That is an energy, enthusiasm, and frankly, a frank line of communication from coach to player. Tell those guys what needs to be said, when it needs to be said, when it needs to be said, and hold these guys accountable. That has been a huge word over the last 3 days. Accountability, accountability, accountability.
How do you think they respond?
Well, I think the energy is going to be infectious right away. We saw it at practice this week. I mean, there's clearly going to be a bump from the change in the change to Darren Rizzi. It has to be, but in the end, it comes down to what Sean is saying. I mean, there's got to be accountability. The football's got to be better. It's one thing to have energy. It's one thing to like the head coach, want to play for him. You got to execute, and when they don't execute, they've got to be held accountable for those mistakes. That's something that has slipped through the cracks the last few years under Dennis Allen, and I think what we hear from Darren Rizzi, coming from that Bill Parcells school of coaching, that's a big point of emphasis for him, along with the attention to detail.
Well, look, they better respond because they're out of scapegoats. They better respond now because, Carmichael last year is out. Dennis Allen is now out. I mean, you're running out of people to blame here. So if you still can't get it done with the head coach out and a new interim guy that everyone seems to like and seems to connect with, if you can't get it done now, or at least you can't raise your level of effort and intensity, then frankly, you probably don't have much of a future here in New Orleans. So, yeah, I think they have to respond, and I think they will respond the right way. There was a different step at practice today. Now, look, to be honest, I thought there was a good step, a step leading up to the Carolina game that didn't translate to the game. But Rizzi is not Dennis Allen, and we'll see how it is. Look, this is his first NFL game as even an interim coach, and I'm sure there's going to be some nerves and just – I remember Joe Vitt talking about I didn't even know how to work the headset. It was kind of a crazy thing like that. So all those little things have to be worked out, but we'll see what happens. But I do think they'll respond to his energy.
Yeah, we do hope that the offense is better this week. They were better against Carolina, but Derek Carr was clearly rusty. Hadn't played in, 3-4 weeks?
Right.
Expect him to be better this week?
Yeah, I think he has to get better as he goes along, as the season goes on. But look, he's got a challenge. He's probably not going to have Chris Olave. He's not going to have Rashid Shaheed. We saw how that offense dragged once Olave went out of the game. I mean, it was very difficult for them to move the ball down the field. They're going to have to lean heavily on the tight ends and running backs again. So he's got a challenge, but I do think his accuracy, some of the little rustiness, it's got to be worked out. The more he plays, the more he practices.
Yeah, that's just it. It's the rotation, the accuracy, the downfield, kind of driving the ball. You could tell that wasn't there. It got away from him quite a bit in that game. The stats ended up being pretty respectable, 28 of 41, 230, something like that. And the offense as an operation was much smoother. I think we can all agree to that. But he has to be better. But he's not facing the Carolina Panthers. The Atlanta Falcons team has a feisty defense, and they've beaten them before. But Carr has had success against this team before. I mean, look, they should have won the game back in week 4. So hopefully he gets that turned around. But I look for number 7, Taysom Hill, who seems to be a Falcons killer. So we'll see.
No doubt about that. Chris Olave, as you just mentioned, he's down with a concussion, second concussion in 4 games or 4 weeks, however you want to put it. Darren Rizzi said today that he's more worried about Chris Olave, the man, than he is the player. Does he play again this year?
I think it's up in the air right now. Well, I think it's too early to tell. He's going to go meet with specialists, medical specialists, along with his agents, along with his family members. This is very similar to what we saw happen in Miami earlier this year with Tua Tagovailoa. I think everything is on the table, as Darren Rizzi said. He may never play football again. I don't think it's totally out of the question, but I do think right now it's hard to say. I think everyone's more concerned with diagnosing what it is that's causing all these concussions. It goes back beyond his NFL career, all the way to Ohio State, something they got to get a handle on.
The last thing he should do is rush back to the field. So to me, he should go to IR, take the next few games off, consult with his family, consult with neurologists, doctors, team, whatever the case may be. I have no doubt Chris Olave loves the game and wants to play the game and does not want his career to be over. But he has to get to that point through the proper process of kind of vetting what's gone wrong and hopefully leading to an outcome where he can get back on the field. But if not, he has to accept the reality too that it's a very dangerous sport and he's had some very dangerous injuries. So everything's still up in the air with Chris Olave, as it should be. But I do know this. It's him and his family that'll make that decision. It's not us. It's not the team. It's up to him and his future how he wants to handle it.
I know how Sean feels about Taysom Hill because he just told us he should be an integral part of this offense this weekend. You feel the same way?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, he's had a history against the Falcons, and I don't think they've quite used him enough since he's come back. Maybe that's by design. But look, when you had a 4th and 1 at midfield late in the game, you got Taysom Hill, get him in there.